diversity and inclusion. And it's quite simple. As a leader, I'm not trying to be right. I'm striving for the right answer. Because I don't believe I'm the smartest person in the room. The last thing I need is a bunch of individuals who think like me. For me, it's about having different brains with as many different perspectives as possible. People's perspectives are formed by age, ethnicity, physical ability, race, religion, family status, and sexual orientation. So when I'm working on strategic issues, I try to include those differences into our decision making. Now remember, I'm not trying to be right, I'm just trying to find the right answer. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Lou Miori.
I'm in trouble. She just took my whole speech. Thank you, everybody, and good afternoon and welcome here today. And I'm pleased to welcome you on behalf of State Street. You know, State Street's been very active with ALPFA in the local level for many, many years in Boston, primarily. And we've been a proud sponsor of this event for the past 9 years. And I'm also really pleased to be here to support Yvonne and the 60 other State Street colleagues that are here today with us. And I thought I would really take a quick moment to share with you why we put so much energy, time into the commitment and partnership with ALPFA. And I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about talent, primarily talent acquisition, diversity of thinking, and kind of just a little view of the future of the workforce and why this is so important to us. So first, you know, we believe at State Street that conventions like this with ALPFA are critical to our ability to execute our talent acquisition strategies and our leadership development strategies. State Street has a very strong commitment to ensuring that all of our open job openings are filled with a diverse slate of candidates, and that more importantly, as those individuals transition to employees, that they feel included, respected, and engaged in our workforce. So it's through our partnership with ALPFA that we're able to actually build on the talent pipeline and to network and build relationships with the talent of individuals like what's in this room today. So second thing, diversity of thinking. Now Yvonne shared with you a little bit of my speech, so you're going to hear it a second time, but I'll give you a little more color with that. But a diverse workforce really is about bringing as many different perspectives as possible around the table and creating trusted relationships and partnerships with our clients, our suppliers, and our community leaders. And we just believe that that is just so critical to the sustainability of our success. And as Yvonne said, I really truly believe as a leader that I am not trying to be right. I'm trying to look for the right answer. And I run global businesses today around the world at State Street, where we're in different communities, different regions, and we have clients and employees. And the last thing that I need are a bunch of people that think like me and have the same perspective that I do. I just don't think you're going to get the best thinking possible out there. So I want as many smart, diverse brains around me, and I think you get that through gender, through ethnic backgrounds, through regions of the world where educational systems are very different, through sexual orientation, religious background. The point here is that diversity comes in all different shapes and sizes. And I think the important thing here is to go after those smart, diverse brains, get them in the room, and engage them in open, constructive debate, which is the most important thing. And we think that leads to great outcomes for our clients. So, as you heard twice now, this is what I personally believe in, and it's what my colleagues here at State Street truly believe in. So to summarize that last point, at State Street, you know, differences are appreciated, but it's the corporate culture that really gives us that space to have that constructive debate and have that inclusive set of brains opining on different business problems. And ensuring that our workforce is truly diversified and reflective of the places that we work around the world is a clear demonstration of our commitment to be a global workforce and a local citizen. Now, my last point, let's take a trip into the future for a second with respect to the future workforce. Between 1990 and 2013, the nation's Hispanic population grew faster than any other ethnic or racial group. And just last month, the Pew Research Center on Hispanics stated that at 54 million, Hispanics make up 17% of the nation's population, and are projected to grow to 29% by the year 2060. So this is the reason why we're here, to have this important conversation today. And the impact that Hispanics and Latinos are going to have on the corporate talent, if you will, in the future is important and growing. And it will help to shape and shift the conversation from where corporate talent is in America in the future. And we at State Street want to continue to be a leader in creating that global workforce that I just spoke about. So I just want to thank our partner in the Luncheon, Deloitte. We've hosted this luncheon together for the past few years, and I hope that everyone here finds the discussions today engaging and thought-provoking. Thank you very much.
It's now my pleasure to introduce the keynote speaker for this luncheon. Kelvin Womack is a senior principal at Deloitte Consulting's Life Sciences and Healthcare Practices, where he recently was asked to assume the leadership responsibility for Deloitte's provider business in the greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Prior to this assignment, he led Deloitte's rapidly growing federal healthcare practice, serving clients that include the National Institute of Health, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the Department of Veteran Affairs, and the Military Healthcare System. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Kelvin Womack.
Good afternoon, Alpha. And good afternoon, Alpha. I am so pleased to be here this afternoon to talk with you for just a few minutes about leadership. And after all, that's what this luncheon is about. So there's three things that I want to share with you, hopefully that you'll remember in this presentation. First, I want to talk to you about a little bit about past and present America to set a context for where we are today. And then I want to talk about some progressive shifts when it comes to how we lead our people in this global and national marketplace. And then finally, what does all of this mean for the pragmatics of how we lead our people as we go into the future? So I feel funny asking you all this, given this is everyone's last day in New York, but has anyone heard of this new Broadway musical, Hamilton? Okay, some of you have heard of it? Okay, it is an award-winning new Broadway musical, and it talks about how this country was founded and how it began. It's about Alexander Hamilton, one of our founding fathers, and the beautiful thing about this is that the cast of this musical about the founding of our country is a very diverse cast. I opened in Broadway over a week ago, rave reviews, the Obamas have seen it, the Vice President has seen it, some of the who's who in America has seen this thing. But very, very importantly, it was written and starred by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who plays Alexander Hamilton, and he's a Latino. The actor who plays Thomas Jefferson is an African American. I actually kind of like that. The entire cast is a glorious mix of colors, and in fact, the only white person in a key role is a person that played King George III. So I share this with you because this musical, I've read a lot about it. It's about telling the story of how this country was founded, and again, founded on immigrants, and it's told by people of today in today's young people's hip-hop style. So, and as the radio shows have said, it's a story about America then told by America now. So think about that. Our young people telling the story of the history of how this country was founded by immigrants. And that leads me into the second thing I want to talk to you about where we are today. We all know that Hispanics and Latinos and Latinas are having a huge impact on the nation's economy. But there's a lot of other things going on in our economy today when it comes to diversity and inclusion and the way we lead our workforces. First of all, I think we could all agree that the civil rights movement has arrived for our LGBT community, and not a moment too soon, finally. The fastest, thank you. The fastest growing group from a racial standpoint in our country, believe it or not, is not Latinos, it's not African American, it's not Asian. It's actually people that are identifying as multiracial or biracial. So the lens is changing. Our lens on what race and ethnicity means is changing right before our very eyes. And much like, we've all seen the technology trends and how that is changing business and the pace of business today. The same thing is happening when it comes to the way people identify and how they like to be viewed by their organizations. In just 10 years, 75% or more of our workforce population will be millennials and those that are going to follow millennials. And I'm not even sure what we call those young folks today, but believe it or not, they're going to be here within 2 years. So my question to you all this afternoon is, so when we think about traditional ways of leading our people, traditional views of diversity and inclusion, what if we change nothing? What if we change nothing? My suggestion to you is, if we change nothing, the way we lead our people, we stand the risk of obsolescence, just like some major Fortune 50 and Fortune 100 organizations that no longer exist today faced obsolescence because they didn't see the technology changes coming. We have changes afoot in the way our people, with our young people coming into the workplace, view ourselves. So it's up to us as leaders to recognize these changes. It's up to us as leaders to be in front of these changes as we move forward. And one last thing about these changes, this is not about, if you think about our traditional views, we've always talked about the majority, whites, who still form the majority of our leadership in this nation and the government. We always think about, what we need to learn as leaders about how do we take on this diverse workforce. Well, I'm here to tell you that as an African American who I don't think I've ever experienced being white in my career, I don't think so anyway, I can tell you that in my career, everyone that I've had the privilege of leading, both in the Marine Corps and in my profession, were diverse. And they weren't black, and they weren't necessarily Hispanic or Asian. They were diverse from my perspective. And it put an extra challenge on me as a leader to make sure that I understood who they are and what they're all about. Perfect example being one of my identities, I'm a veteran. What was it like for me to take on the Chief Diversity Officer role at Deloitte and recognize that some of the diverseness of Deloitte is our LGBT community, but yet they see their Chief Diversity Officer is a former Marine that came from a don't ask, don't tell military. It required an extra effort on my part to effectively lead that portion of our workforce. So I want to finish with just a couple of things when it comes to this. Yesterday, Charlie, you did us a great privilege of recognizing our veterans yesterday, and you had Rob O'Neill on this stage, who, for those of you that were here yesterday, told just some wonderful historic stories of what some of the most prestigious military service members are doing to defend the security of this country. And I thought it fitting, and I thank you, Charlie, for sharing that, because I've always believed that one of the most important things that we need to do as leaders and citizens is support those who defend our future and lead those who are going to be our future, many of the young people that are in this room. But there's a few lessons that Rob shared with us that I took away that I wanted to share with you. Recall, for those of you that were here yesterday, what he shared about selfless care for the person beside you. Think about that. Recall what he shared with us yesterday about sense of family and what a huge factor that was in inspiring these folks to not only perform their mission better, but to come back to their families. Think about that, because I think that applies to us in corporate America today, sense of family. And I love the term alpha familia. I mean, that's what it's all about. There's inspiration in knowing that this is about family as well. Recall what he talked about when he talked about playing to strengths and looking ahead as to how we're going to perform rather than evaluating performance in the rearview mirror. And finally, recall, and he told in a lot more humorous way than I can, how candid feedback, if you recall some of his lessons in training, how candid feedback and candid real-time feedback, what that means for driving high performance in our teams. So I just wanted to share those with you because I thought it was a great way of talking about leadership today, and given some of those statistics that I shared with you earlier about how things are changing, it challenges all of us to look inside not only our brains, but inside our hearts as to how we're going to take better care of this diversifying and increasingly diversifying workforce in front of us. So in conclusion, I just want a couple of comments. Over 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King dreamed that his children would someday live in a nation where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I believe that we are very much closer to that world today. I think some of the traditional things that we're doing to lead our people still stand, such as making sure that we have diverse leaders rising to the top of our organization. We're not there yet. However, the younger generations and some of those trends that I talked about earlier are forcing us to change and to think about how we view leadership, diversity, and inclusion today. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I think the future is just bright because of this change and because of all the young people that are coming into the workforce that are forcing us to change the way we think about these things. So, in finality, I think our life experiences teach us a lot. It's founded on the bedrock of our cultures and ethnicity, much like building a house. The foundation is our culture, what our families gave us and our ethnicities, but then we gather all these other experiences through life. And we at Deloitte think that all of that is contained in authenticity. And if we think about being that as leaders, more authentic and setting that example, I think we're going to achieve even more greatness in this country than we have over the last several hundred years. Thank you for having us this afternoon. Charlie, thank you for everything ALPFA and your team does for this community and all of our people. And have a great rest of the afternoon, everyone. Thank you.